Hello. Welcome, everyone. I feel like everybody's a little scared to sit in this front row. I promise we will not bite. We've got a lot of really good content to share. I want to introduce ourselves as we talk about the synergy between regional to local marketing. I am Liz Nelligan, VP of Media Strategy at Ansira. I am joined with me by Chip Raby, the Administrator of Corporate Marketing for Auto Owners Insurance, and Ken Holmes, the Senior Manager of Marketing for Rheem, and Dave Garsh at the end, our Senior Director of Strategy also at Ansira. So we've got lots of good information. I'm going to start us off by just level setting and asking you both a question too. So obviously at the brand level, you are accountable for growth, but at the last mile, it's really the plumbers and the agents that you have to think about. So who from your customer, how do you deal with that end consumer or the contractor, the agent sitting between you and that consumer? Chip, you want to take that one first?
So this year, Auto Owners is celebrating 110 years being in business. And we have several agencies that we've been working with 50, 75, and 100 years. I think before we started our partnership with Ansira, we did some advertising. We had some co-op going on out there. But by and large, our success over that 100 plus years is built on developing those relationships with those agencies. They're independent agencies, so they can sell any number of carriers, and it's building those relationships generationally that made them our primary customer, and together we serve consumers.
Yes. And that's such a unique area too to have those more independent agents that you work with, or the agencies as well. Ken, what about you?
Yeah, we're very similar. We just hit the 100-year mark this past year, and our organization was built, we say, boots on the ground, knocking on doors, developing relationships with plumbers and HVAC techs. And over the last 25 years in particular, that has changed. The growth of distribution, agency partners as well. So what we've had to do is empower the distributors more, empower plumbers and HVAC techs to become an extension of our business. Because now we say, whoever's in the living room, whoever's at the counter speaking to the other person on the other side, that's who we trust as an organization. So once the plumber, in this case, is in the living room, they're the ones doing the sales pitch on our behalf to the end consumer. So we've really tried to double down on the distributors, agents, and the plumbers in the field, and actually peel back speaking directly to homeowners.
A lot of that education piece that comes into it as well. And Ken, you really are responsible for the residential water section too, but a lot of your influence for the plumbers and distributors is what you manage. So how do you get that type of insight into the conversations that they're having, or really at the local level compared to what you're seeing from corporate?
Mm-hmm. I haven't figured it out, so if anybody here knows, then please let me know. It's an ongoing. The reality is it's an ongoing battle. What we say internally is it's a mix of data and anecdotals. So what can the data tell us in terms of how the marketing, the events, the media, website traffic is performing, and then what are we hearing in the field? So we balance, from a marketing perspective, I balance my team being in the field and then also in the office. We're probably in the field about 50% of the time, concepting campaigns, building out strategies, launching them, and then going in the field to events, speaking to customers, and trying to pinpoint, did it actually resonate with how we thought it would? Oftentimes you find out that it doesn't, which is okay, because in the world of data, we're okay with missing, as long as you go back and define where you missed in particular, and then try to relaunch the campaign. So we go through this ongoing optimization work track is what we say. And the plumbers and HVAC techs in particular are interesting because they're also going through growing pains. The tech has changed. You have a situation where the younger people in the trades are actually doing the trades differently than the more senior people. They no longer sweat pipe. Now they just clamp it with a press and it's done in seconds. So how we speak to these people and what generation they fall within is vastly different, and therefore creates a lot more complications of marketing as well.
Yeah. I love what you said too about sometimes missing the mark, but using the data. I think that is such a smart and strategic way in marketing, is to make sure that you understand what you're measuring and you're using that to see if it is successful, and then pivoting if it's not, or really honing in if it is. And that's the key piece to what you're doing. Now, Chip, from auto owners, how do you balance what corporate wants? And when we think of what corporate wants, it's everything from like profitable growth to increased efficiencies, even attribution that we've talked about a lot too. So with what the agents are actually asking for, how do you balance that from what corporate can give?
Sure. So we try to make sure that we have a holistic perspective from what our agencies are needing and wanting versus what the market is telling us. We have offices in all 26 states in which we operate, and we have marketing reps who go out and they meet with the agencies on a regular basis. Their job is to help service that account and build that account, and so they're talking to them on a regular basis. But we also have something we just developed within the last few years, a feedback forum in which we've recruited some of our better agencies to survey them on a regular basis on a variety of topics. It could be operations, it could be sales, it could be what they're dealing with, how they're trying to grow, what they think of the products and services that we offer, to get more direct feedback from that. And then another team that we built within the last few years is a marketplace intelligence team. And they are tasked with, basically on a state-by-state basis, creating a big picture of what's going on in that market. What are our competitors doing? What's going on from a legislative standpoint, from either a weather impact standpoint, trying to factor in all the variables that are going on in each state, because we have to treat each one as its own campaign, because what might be happening really well in Minnesota might be having a really tough time down in Missouri. So we have to treat each state as its own separate campaign and factor in all those variables.
Yeah, and that legislation piece too, especially of course in insurance, and probably for all of you in different verticals, you're seeing some level of this too. So taking a look at it at the statewide level, or what you can influence, what you should influence, what you should be looking at is very smart, very important.
Yeah, so diving a little bit deeper to the state level, and Ken, this one's for you first. Water and HVAC, very product, climate driven. Florida compared to Maine, Tucson compared to Boston, where I live, different realities completely. Can you share an example of how regional or climate differences have really forced you to design different programs or messages out in the market?
Yep. Yeah, that's a great question. And that's an example of why being in the field for our business matters so much. In terms of water heating in particular, legislation is a massive piece of our business, and it really guides as to how we go to market for states in particular. So Maine, for example, is the biggest heat pump market in the United States. It's population-wise doesn't compare to a lot of the other states, but how many units we sell on heat pump because of the rebates is very significant for how we tailor the marketing. Florida, for example, though, is a big vacation market. You have large-scale houses that therefore need on-demand hot water, which is more tankless gas. This part of the country, there's a lot of hard water, so you need water softening systems. My point is that years ago, we were taking our premier products and launching them across the entire United States because that's what made sense for the balance sheet. You put a lot of tech into a certain product, you want to push it across to everywhere possible. What we found is that it's not received in those local markets because in many situations, the agents aren't pushing the product, the distributors aren't stocking it because the plumbers aren't selling it, pushing it on their behalf. So what we've done now is segmented the country into different pockets, primary and secondary products that we push for those particular markets, and how we always have a centralized theme, but then we tailor it based on the product that's the primary for that market.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I love that it's not just about the climate. You're pulling in the incentives, the economics of each of the localities. For everyone in the room, I'd say this is kind of the reason that Ansira, we keep going out and pushing these local playbooks that we can put together. So it's not just take a campaign, copy and paste across the country, but really how can we regionalize it? Rheem has built these specific local programs. So when your plumbers are in front of the customer, it seems like an easier way for them to say yes at that point, for sure. Chip, so kind of same question, but for insurance, you have factors like weather, nuclear verdicts, regulatory environment, market pressures, all of that impacts profitability in each of the states. How do those regional realities shape how you guys are going to market with your agents?
Yeah, we really have to be keen on which of our products is profitable on a state-by-state basis, and we measure that very closely. We work regionally with our offices and our branches to make sure that we are promoting those products that are profitable. It's interesting. I talk about almost being in business 110 years. It took us about 104 to become an $8 billion company. And we've essentially doubled in size in the last 6 years, which is hard for us to, I think, even fathom ourselves. A lot of that has been due to the wildly volatile market that we've been dealing with the last several years. A lot of other carriers have made it very restrictive to write new business or even shut down lines of business. We haven't shut down a single line of business in any of our states. We haven't promoted it a ton, but I think we've been the beneficiary of a lot of other carriers being restrictive and trying to reduce their losses, that we've always remained open for business in every state, regardless of the line of business. And so they have appreciated that we've been working with them on that front and staying open and always be willing to write business for them. But we still have to be conscientious of, I'll say, for example, a couple of years ago, there was about a year and a half, 2 years where we weren't really promoting homeowners insurance at all because it wasn't profitable in any of our states. We'd still write it, but we weren't out there, raising the flag about it. We use our marketplace intelligence to provide Ansira with quarterly updates on which of our lines of business we want to be focusing on, and it changes state by state. So we kind of custom package which assets we want to feature on a regular basis, make sure that we are reflecting how they want to be growing in that state.
Yeah. And we just, to pull the curtain a little bit as well, so we made a lot of changes to how Ansira is supporting auto owners based on that state level. So now we're taking a look at how we can really impact and influence from a media perspective by seeing how those messages resonate. The other thing, too, that we always maybe laugh about is the fact that auto owners insurance, people think you just sell auto insurance. So how do we combat some of those things as you do have those additional lines of service and what you are trying to promote and showcase based on what other carriers could have? So very good insights, yes. I am going to steal Amalia's note and shift gears a little bit to talk about data, probably one of our most favorite topics here. Ken, at Rheem, I know you guys have been doing a ton of work to pull your data together, specifically from like warranty registrations or even service history, any just additional marketing activity, pulling that into your CRM. So what is your long-term vision on that centralized view for data?
Yeah, it's been over the past 2 years. This is one of the primary initiatives for the business. I mean, we're a classic 100-year-old organization, which you have a few different CRM systems, a ton of homegrown databases, and then old school Rolodexes of relationships. So in particular, we focused with the Ansira partnership here over the past year, moving to heavily within Microsoft Dynamics and trying to centralize everything that we have. Now, we're only doing that for the residential water business right now, but it's going to start growing across air, commercial, and all the other business units as well. We have this idea internally called the golden record, which would essentially give us one center of truth for any particular customer and at any time how we're reaching them in the market, what type of marketing they've engaged with us online recently. The reality is that there needs to be a balance in terms of what we would like to accomplish in terms of technology, but then also how fast can the customer pace with us in the field. The difficulty that we have is, I think it was alluded to one of the earlier sessions, was this closed data loop. So we're getting very buttoned up internally with everything being in this CRM system. The next challenge is going to be, as we're sending leads to the agencies, as we're sending leads to the distributors, how can they give us feedback on the leads that we've sent? Has the lead closed? What's the revenue attached to it? And then how do we bring that back into the CRM system to continue acting on it? So that would be my goal as to where we get over the next few years.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point too. And let's dig in a little bit more from the lead perspective, because knowing how that passes to your partners, what does a good lead look like? And what are you all trying to stay away from?
What good looks like for us, and first and foremost would be so on the water side, new plumbing relationship that we don't have an existing account with. In terms of what a good lead looks like to a lot of other people in the organization would really vary depending on, you're going to get a lot of different perspectives. Is it some business units are going to care more about total units. Some are going to care more about pushing the tech from a heat pump technology standpoint or a tankless standpoint. So there's actually, can be a complicated algorithm at times as to where we focus the leads on. Do you want 100 new plumbing leads, or would you rather have 50 very high quality heat pump leads because that's the new technology in the space? And candidly, it's not something that we've netted out on an easy answer on. Ultimately, right now, we try to find a balance in terms of quality and quantity across all products. But the technology is growing so rapidly that lead qualification and lead value is going to be a heavy consideration over the next several years.
Absolutely. And I'm sure everybody sitting in this audience too, that is not a foreign concept to you, of balancing the quality and the quantity and really having an understanding of what that success for your leads, for your partners looks like. Chip, for auto owners too, we're in the process of going through a lead prospecting campaign is what I want to call it, but it's not a campaign. It is really just a lead prospecting process. Solution. Thank you. I like that. Yes. So can you tell us how this is going to help change that customer experience, having that more full closed loop attribution?
Yeah. A little bit of background for us. And we have always been strong supporters of our independent agency system, and we've never wanted to give them any indication that we would want to be going direct. So we're very over-communicative in our plans and what we're doing in regards to generating leads. We want them to understand that we're doing this on their behalf, so that we are funneling them good leads. To this point in our history, however, we've never actually captured any information about the leads that we're generating. We have what we call affectionately our Find an Agent feature on our website. And basically, it's you plug in where you live, essentially, and it'll give you a listing of the agencies in your area. And at that point, we lose the leads. So what we're looking to do with Ansira is develop forms for people to finally leave us some information about themselves, enough to identify them as an individual, working on trying to figure out a way to somehow score that lead or the quality or the types of business that they're looking for, so that we can pass that off to agencies with a little bit of information about them. We'll also use that information to help Ansira target and attract higher quality leads for us, so that at some point we're seeing, okay, this messaging or these ads or this strategy is bringing in higher quality leads. Let's do more of this and less of that. Phase 2 or 3, eventually what we'd love to be able to do is also track those leads through to written policies. So we want to see, of the leads that we're giving to agencies, how many of those are they converting? What's the value that they're seeing in those leads? We're giving you high quality leads. You're converting them at a rate that we feel is acceptable. Let's make sure we're feeding you more leads. Conversely, if you're not closing them, okay, what do we need to do? Or let's talk about, okay, who's getting the leads? So eventually it becomes kind of a point of leverage for us that we could show that we are attracting and curating high quality leads for them.
Absolutely, yes. And I know, especially it goes back to the education piece, once you're starting to understand more of the close rates from the agencies themselves, is there additional things that you can do to help support them to close those? And selfishly, of course, we would love any additional data points to make our media smarter and make sure that we're hitting the right consumers at the right time. One final question for data for both of you. Obviously, knowing that you're trying to centralize data and improve attribution. However, we understand that your partners are not in dashboards all day long. That's not where they should be spending their time there. So how do you translate all of that information back into something that's going to be simple and useful for them? I'll have Ken use.
That's one of the things that we struggle with the most. It's just telling the story. Honestly, our team within the marketing department has tried to switch the narrative on that and become more storytellers. We have Derek on my team who's here is the main one that's in the data and probably the liaison between all of the other groups. So he'll go back and dig through the data, and then I'll take time. How do we tell a story with it? And what we found internally is that if you try to tell the whole story at one time, it's not going to land. We look for, in general, probably about 3 different key nuggets that you can tell, bite-sized pieces, because again, we're a 100-year-old manufacturing company that got to where we are, boots on the ground. So if you're now trying to tell a massive data story, even though it's very compelling to people in the space, it's not going to have the impact internally that we want it to have. What the stories that are most successful with those 3 nuggets are always related to ROI. What's the dollar amount? What's the lead value? How many units are attached to it? So now every story that we tell from a data impact, I'll say to my team, what's the business impact? From that, we build the story off of it. And that's how we've been speaking internally and with the distributors and partners externally, and it's gone very well.
Love that.
I'm going to change gears. Liz, you stole my line because I'm actually going to talk about NASCAR. So.
Yeah.
Pun very much intended. One of our other clients, Rebel Bourbon, partners with Kyle Busch in the number 8 car, and part of that sponsorship is they do giveaways for the end consumer. So whether it's on POS or there's some other way trying to promote it, they're bringing that end consumer, the beverage drinker, to NASCAR events, giving them that opportunity. I know Rheem partners with Christopher Bell, the number 20 car. And you guys do a similar thing, but you do it with the plumbers and your pros. So can you talk a little bit about how that fits into the overall plan, how you hope that this sponsorship and this ability to bring those professionals to the event really helps you build the brand and build the relationship?
Yeah, the NASCAR partnership has been incredible for us. It's full red carpet experience that gives you the good opportunity to spend time with customers and prospects and whatnot. We also realized that we were probably underutilizing partnership in our space, and I've heard it mentioned several times. It is a relationship business. So a lot of the distributors have been working with a certain manufacturing brand for 20, 30, 40, 50 years or whatever it is. We realized that we needed a carrot to break through to some of the prospects that we were never able to develop a relationship with. So we created this concept of Dream Team, which was giving distributors, plumbers, HVAC techs the opportunity for that red carpet experience, which in many cases we find they just don't have that type of opportunity. And this is, we'll fly them to a local NASCAR race, bring them down on the track, the whole wine dine experience. But what you get is you get a few different offshoots of that. One, you get extended time with the customer to really realize why they're working with other brands. And oftentimes we'll hear, hey, somebody took me to dinner 20 years ago, and we just have never looked back. It's as simple as that. But then also what you get is opportunities for our marketing team to develop content. Videos and photos and storytelling off of that. And then finally, VOC, and just spending time with the masses of the plumbers in a unique setting to then help us figure out the next sprint. But in our space, it's really hard to compete with NASCAR. We put a nice wrapper on it, but it's a layup.
Yeah. So Chip, in your world, you have agents that you need to keep motivated, and as you said, they are independents. So what kind of programs or support plays do you use at Auto Owners, kind of in the same vein?
Similar message. We try to make every aspect of doing business with us easy for them, whether it be writing new business, online platforms for placing it and servicing the business, the online portal that we have with Ansira for our co-op marketing, just making everything easy. I mean, we obviously pay really good commission. That's been kind of a stalwart with us. We have a very robust incentive travel program. We have our own internal incentive travel team that they have all sorts of secret meetings about the locations that they have coming up and stuff. But last year, for instance, we sent over 6,000 people on excursions for doing good, profitable business with us. And you talk about building those relationships over years, and people have been going on those trips for years and years. We have a similar program with our agents and the regional sports networks that we've started working with. Part of our challenge historically has been that we've had a really strong relationship with college sports networks. But you understand how all the conferences and the expansion has been great for those networks. It hasn't been all that great for us necessarily, because it's all been West Coast, especially in the case of the Big Ten. We're not in any of those states. So through our partnership with Ansira and those regional sports networks, we're able to feature teams that are specifically in our states. Each one of those relationships includes hospitality, so we're taking agents to those games. I think last year we took over 800 people to over 200 games. So finding new and different ways to deepen those partnerships.
Yeah, very important to reduce that wasted spend and then still have such a good presence from the hospitality, because you do want your agencies to be able to go out there and wine and dine and showcase what auto owners can do. We've got just a few minutes left here, so I'll ask one final question to you both, and this may be a controversial question. So thinking over the last couple years of your businesses, what is one thing that you've gotten wrong about regional or local activation, and that changed how you're operating today? Chip, you want to go ahead?
I guess if you look at it in hindsight, it's just not starting it sooner. You know, we for decades prided ourselves on promoting from within, and we had great people who were really good at what they did, but they didn't have any marketing background. And we had a lot of initiatives that were sold to us as reaching a lot of people all at once. But when you looked at the data behind how many people we were reaching, a good portion of those people were outside of our sales footprint. So what we were able to do when we started working with Ansira is really show how we were keeping the vast majority of the dollars in profitable states, that they were having a significant lift, that we were able to show measurability. We know which ads are performing on which platforms in which state, and we can ramp that up or dial back if needed. And we're a slow-moving, conservatively run company, so it just takes a while for people to become comfortable with change. So while we wish we could have done this even sooner, we recognize that change takes time for people to get comfortable with, and even though it seems incremental to us, it's been a seismic shift in our company as a whole.
Absolutely. And as you said, over the last 6 years, growing how much you did in business, and that very much shows. Yes. Ken?
Mine might be relatively controversial that it's spending, at times we've spent too much externally on the customers in the market, and I think there's been more opportunities to invest that with the infrastructure, the data, technology internally. In our business, and we do a lot of customer hosting, a good steak dinner or a bourbon and just spending time with the customers goes a long way. We've tried to add on too much on top of that, and it's just not needed. So we've gone through exercises where how could we have leveraged those dollars to build out the data models more, build out the CRM more, to then help us be more impactful when we are in the field. But we've gotten back to more just traditional relationship management and not try to overcomplicate it.
So as to not end on a challenge, let's end on one piece of advice that each of you would give someone sitting in this room who works at corporate but is dependent on local programs really to win.
I would say I would say to my team internally that if you want to work on an easy marketing team, this is not it. You want to work on a challenging marketing team, you're right where you need to be. So although we think we're doing things incredible, in particular in the digital space, it's nowhere near what I believe we're capable of. And the gap is incredibly significant. So if you think that you're doing the best work, you might be doing very good work. There's still a whole other mile that you can go.
Yeah.